Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
The Cooperative Pledge. As a Filipino, I am and I believe in the cooperative. Alone I am weak, but with others I am strong. So I commit myself to work, to cooperate, for all to be prosperous. Harmony, industry, I will value. Cooperative affairs, I will attend. Responsibilities, I will assume. The cooperative philosophy, I will live. One vision, one belief, one feeling in cooperativism. My life I pledge, so help me God.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning ulit. This is Cooperative Month. So Oktubre po ay we celebrate the National Cooperative Month. Sabi po sa Republic Act 11502, the CDA, in partnership with the Co-op Development Councils, the Co-op Development Officers, the national and local federations and unions of cooperatives, and other agencies of the government shall conduct activities and programs that promote the principles and values of cooperatives and encourage the cooperative movement. So that is exactly what we are doing today. My name is Diosdado Luna, or Dado, and I am the NATCO Network Communications Officer, and I will be your host this wonderful morning. So from October 12 to 14, various forums of the different cooperative clusters have been scheduled. So today, we are having the Finance Cluster Forum on legislative support for the Stabilization Fund. So just to give you a short introduction, credit cooperatives are entrusted with the deposits of the members, di ba? Tinutulungan natin ang mga member natin, and we also provide various services to our members. And the main aim of cooperatives is to improve the lives of their members, di ba? Yun po talaga ang pakay ng lahat ng kooperatiba. So we will state, therefore, since the co-ops hold their members' deposits and have a big responsibility, the cooperatives are in the business of trust, tiwala. If we lose the trust of our members, then we're no longer in business. So today, we are discussing a big undertaking in the co-op sector and ensuring the stability and sustainability of cooperatives in what is known as the Stabilization Fund. So we are taking stability and risk management one step further. So makakarinig po tayo ng mga speakers about the German framework on inspection of co-ops in Germany, as well as the NATCO framework, and also a testimony from one of our cooperatives in Luzon, in Zambales. And we will get to that later. So napaka-interesting po ng ating program ngayon. And to start off, we will have our welcome remarks from the chairperson of the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Lucy Furo. Ms. Lucy, good morning.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Sir Dado.
Hi.
And
morning.
first and foremost, let me greet you a happy National Cooperative Month. My respect to Honorable Kong Presley De Jesus, the Chairperson, House Committee on Cooperative Development, Senator Grace Poe, Chairperson, Senate Committee on Banks and Currency. My warmest greetings to our honored guests from Germany, Sir Mark Sack, from the German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation. Of course, to our chairperson of the Cooperative Development Authority, Yusek Joseph Joy and Cabo. To our Assistant Secretary of the Cooperative Development Authority, who is in charge of the Finance Cluster, Honorable Vidal Villanueva III. And of course, though Dr. Divina Kemi, andyan ba si Dr. Divina Kemi, the CEO of Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives, and she is now officially representing the Cooperative NATO Party List or CNPL. To Dr. Gary Leonardo, the chairperson of the Philippine Cooperative Center, and of course, our resource person from the NATCO Network.
Baliktad naman sila. Tama
Fellow
ba?
cooperator.
Hindi nakamute na yan.
Good morning.
Miss Lucy, naka-mute po kayo.
Nag-automatic mute yata
Yeah.
ang host. Okay. Again, as mandated by Republic Act 11502, October of every year is recognized as the National Cooperative Month. Why Cooperative Month? Every year we are reflecting upon the cooperative movement's history, promote its achievements, recognize hard work, and share member experiences. Today's theme, or this year's theme, is entitled Kooperatibang Matatag, Tumutugon sa mga hamon, Daan sa Pagbangon, Nagbibigay Pag-asa sa Makabagong Panahon. In today's challenging world health crisis brought about by COVID-19 pandemic, or the C-19 pandemic, member-owned and typically community-based financial intermediaries or credit unions and other cooperative types with savings and credit services can be more responsive to local economic needs, especially during this crisis. But there are emerging threats to their business model. Digitalization of products and services and online provision has increasingly shaped the business model of all financial institutions, including our credit or financial service cooperatives. But many smaller financial cooperatives have a weak online presence, so they cannot cope up with the changing environment. Just like any business, financial service cooperatives or credit unions are faced with business risks which need to insulate the effects of financial business risks to stabilize our cooperative organizations. The Finance Cluster Forum in this particular event recognizes the hard work of the credit cooperative, the financial service co-op sector, specifically the NATCO network and PFCCO, and we are sharing today, or will be sharing today, experiences on Stabilization Fund. It is a solidarity fund that is patterned after the models in Germany, Netherlands, Canada, and South Korea, where membership for cooperatives is mandatory. This forum aims to educate the sector about the benefits of stabilization fund system and possibly to push for legislative support along this line. So that is our dream for the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines. Now, the initiatives to set up stabilization fund started in the Philippines way back when the first century cooperative conference was held during the time of the late Senator Boots Aquino. Sharing of experiences from the World Council of Credit Unions, or WOCU, the Stabilization Fund aims to protect and guarantee deposit of members, which is similar to PDIC. Now, if credit unions opt to die in the Philippines, we have no guarantee to save the image or the face of the cooperative due to lack of mechanism to safeguard the financial risks in our business. During the past, cooperatives die naturally, and of course, we charge it to experience. So poor member in the credit union, they could not get their investment from the organization. It is high time that the sector today should push to legislate the creation of a stabilization fund. On behalf of the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines, or UCMP, which is a unifying initiative of the cooperative sector led by the Philippine Cooperative Center, the federations, the unions, the primaries, the co-op party list, or CNPL, in the House of Representatives, the National Cooperative Development Council, where I am representing as the chair, the League of Cooperative Development Officers of the Philippines, or LCDOP, and other stakeholders across the country joins the whole nation in the sheer series of activities on Cooperative Month celebration. Welcome to Finance Cluster Forum on Stabilization Fund on the occasion of the 2021 National Cooperative Month celebration. Salamat at mabuhay ang kilusang kooperatiba. Magandang umaga po.
Magandang umaga po. Narinig po natin ang NCDC Chair, Ms. Lucy Furo. Thank you for those welcome remarks. Okay, now we will move on with our program. To give the solidarity message is no other than the chairperson of the Cooperative Development Authority. He will give it to us through video under Secretary Joseph, Joy, and Cabo.
To all the cooperatives and our partners in the movement, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. First, I would like to extend my gratitude to our cooperative leaders for initiating such great programs for the cooperative sector. The Cooperative Development Authority, through its finance cluster headed by Assistant Secretary Vidal Villanueva III, vows to create financial frameworks with proper and equitable support and safety nets for the cooperatives. We support forward-looking initiatives that value the protection and breakthroughs for our clienteles, particularly the micro and small cooperatives. Again, my sincerest congratulations to all of you, and I hope you will all learn valuable insights from this seminar. Daghang salamat po sa inyong lahat, and happy National Cooperative Month.
Daghang salamat to our USEC, Joseph, Joy, and Cabo. Now, to give us the solidarity message, another solidarity message is the youngest member of the board of the Cooperative Development Authority, and he is the head of the Credit and Financial Services, Banking, Insurance, and Credit Surety Fund of the Cooperatives Cluster, or Financial Cluster for short. So let us hear ASEC Vidal Villanueva III. ASEC?
Good morning.
Hi, ASEC. You're loud and clear.
Okay, Mayong buntag, Sir Dado. Thank you for this invitation. First of all, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the National Confederation of Cooperatives, being the largest and the biggest secondary federation of finance cooperatives, for having invited me to join this forum. I am very pleased to be surrounded by all these brilliant and dynamic cooperative leaders who have been taken the time off from their very busy schedule to be with us today. It is a great pleasure for me to address this message of solidarity to you. Please allow me to extend my greetings. First of all, of course, Sir Dado Lona, thank you so much. Madam Sylvia Ukinlay Paragoya, Madam Lucy Foro, Congressman Prisley De Jesus, and Senator Grace Po. And of course, please accept also my greetings, Dr. Gary Leonardo and Dr. Divina Kimi, Congresswoman pala, and Congressman Filimon Isparis. Magandang umaga po. And to all cooperative leaders who are here present, mayong buntag, mayad hamasalom tenyo alan. Good morning to all of you. Magandang umaga po. In any kind of business, profession, or endeavor, stability is a key ingredient to success. Perseverance alone is not enough to secure the future of any organization. It is therefore important that the aspect of stability is taken into account to ensure organizational resiliency and sustainability. Cooperatives should also be stable institutions, resistant to economic challenges. This is very important, especially this time that our nation is going through an economic difficulty as effect of this COVID-19 global pandemic. Survival and existence are of paramount importance during this very abnormal time. Recently, I have been receiving reports that several cooperatives already ceased to operate mainly due to insolvency. This scenario may be prevented if only we have adopted or implemented among cooperatives the stabilization fund system. In advanced countries, stabilization fund is a mechanism set up by the national government or their central bank with the primary purpose to shield and protect its domestic economy from various factors, especially the economy is a volatile matter. The stabilization fund system in the cooperative sector in the Philippines was first introduced by the National Confederation of Cooperatives, the NACCO, in 2008. A system patterned after the models in Germany, Netherlands, Canada, and South Korea, with the prime purpose of securing the cooperatives to continue to operate. Of course, members entrust their hard-earned money to their cooperatives. The cooperatives should also act as a good stewards of the money handed over to them as share capital, savings deposit, or time deposits. So to protect the money entrusted to its members, the stabilization fund will now secure the money by putting up a fund which can be utilized by cooperatives during financial hardships or instability. Currently, there are only 88 NATCO cooperatives that are under the stabilization fund. 26 of them are billionaire co-ops, but this number is very small comparing to the number of registered cooperatives in the country right now. Cooperative leaders should take this as a number one priority, the stability of your respective cooperatives by considering to be under the stabilization fund system so that you will no longer be apprehensive of becoming bankrupt or suffer financial losses because of your co-ops are secured. A month ago, we in the Cooperative Development Authority had the pleasure of meeting with the leaders and officials of the NATCO, the PFCC on the MASPEC. Of course, Madam Sylvia were there, Ma'am Emma, and Ma'am Bernadette Toledo were also present during the meeting. In the said meeting, they presented to us in the Cooperative Development Authority the concept of this stabilization fund. It was very enlightening meeting as these federations shared with us their knowledge and expertise on the matter. Inspired by these leaders, I proposed to the CDA Board of Directors the establishment of stabilization fund system in the cooperatives here in the Philippines by virtue of CDA Board Resolution number 352 series of 2001, which was approved unanimously by the CDA Board. Consulting with other co-op leaders in various parts of the country, they suggested two things. Number one, establish an office to implement the stabilization fund system by coming up with an enabling law. The said proposal, it's a joint venture agreement, or it's a joint venture between the government and of course the co-op federations as part of the governance in the composition of this stabilization fund system. And proposal number two, amend Republic Act 11364 of or the CDA Charter of 2019 and create a department within the CDA to function as the Stability Fund System Office. Papayag ba ang ating mga cooperative leaders and the cooperative sector on this setup? To me, the proposal number one is more welcoming because this time we need the complementation, the expertise of our great leaders from the sector. Just like Dr. Leonardo, Gary Leonardo, Madam Okinlay, Paragoya, di ba? Sir Dado, for instance, Ma'am Gloria Futalan, Ma'am Emma, Ma'am Lucy Foro, Madam Kemi, those leaders, we need to bring them together para pag-usapan natin itong stabilization fund. Or in the event that we have already a law establishing the office, all these leaders will be joining together para as part of the governing board of the Stabilization Fund Office. The finance cluster also had the privilege of meeting the PDIC Vice President Romel Is Herrera together with the legal team of the PDIC. One of the topics we discussed is the importance and the need to really put up the stabilization fund. Prior to the establishing of this cooperative deposit insurance system, according to PDIC, dapat mauna muna ang stabilization fund. PDIC will also bring this matter to the PDIC board for consideration and further discussion. Evidently, if all cooperatives will be under the stabilization fund system, more people will be encouraged to join the cooperatives because the existence of the cooperatives are secured because of the stabilization fund system. Having said that, please allow me to express my deepest appreciation to NATCO and of course, to all leaders who are here present for setting the standards of what cooperatives should be. I am certain that NATCO will continue to bring forth progress and prestige in the cooperative sector in the entire country. Daghan kayong salamat for this time. Sir Dado, thank you for the invitation, and to all of you, my dearest co-op leaders all over the country, thank you so much for this opportunity to share my thoughts on this matter. Mayong buntag kanatong tanan, may the good Lord and the Senior Santo Niño de Cebu will continue to protect all of us, cooperative leaders and officers, so that makapagpatuloy tayo to serve our purpose in the co-op sector. God bless everyone. Mabuhay ang kooperatiba.
Buhay ang kooperatibang Pilipino. We just heard our beloved ASEC Vidal Villanueva, the third. Thank you for all your inputs this early. We really appreciate that you are proactive, ASEC Vidal. So again, thank you very much and good morning, sir. All right, so ngayon po ay October National Cooperative Month celebration and our theme is Kooperatibang Matatag, tumutugon sa mga hamon daan sa pagbangon nagbibigay pag-asa sa makabagong panahon. Sa umpisa pa lang, yung tema natin is kooperatibang matatag. So we have to take note of that, and we're talking here about stability fund. So kahapon po nagkaroon ng talk with the ICA, and the discussion was about the cooperative identity. And it was agreed that one of the keys to the stability of cooperatives is the cooperative identity. Now today, we will talk about one of the keys to the stability of cooperatives, and that is the Stabilization Fund. So our first speaker for today is from DGRV, or the German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation in Germany. DGRV is the national apex organization and top-level auditing confederation of the cooperative sector in Germany. Here, we emphasize that one of the functions of DGRV as the apex co-op confederation is to perform auditing of cooperatives. So for more than 40 years, DGRV has been engaged in international development cooperation in more than 30 countries. DGRV provides consultancy and helps to develop cooperative systems and structures aiming at a sustainable development of the cooperative sector. So DGRV has offices in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and its headquarters is in Bonn, Germany. And DGRV currently guides the NATO Network Stabilization Fund Unit since 2012. So today, our first speaker, he graduated from the Beijing Language and Culture University in Beijing, China, and obtained his master's degree in Chinese Studies and Economics from the Free University of Berlin in Germany. And he has had extensive experience in consultancy in China and Laos. And he is now DGRV's project director for the Philippines and Myanmar. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, all the way from Germany, or I think he's in Korea right now, he's about to give us the institutional protection scheme for credit cooperatives in Germany. So ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Marc-André Zach.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you for this wonderful introduction. I made some notes how to introduce myself. Now I don't need to use these notes anymore. Okay. So first of all, good morning to everyone and happy Cooperative Month. Thank you for the previous speakers to give the introductory speeches. It's very impressive to see, as somebody who has not been working with the Philippines for a long time, to see how lively the cooperative sector seems to be. This morning, as was already said, I will talk about the German framework of the Institutional Protection Fund for savings and credit cooperatives in Germany. Give me one moment. I need to share my screen for that. Okay. Could somebody just confirm to me if the slides can be seen?
Yes, it can be seen, Mr. Zach.
Okay, great. So before I will go into the framework for the institutional protection framework, let me give you a brief introduction into savings and credit cooperatives in Germany. First of all, if we look at the cooperative system in Germany, we have several levels. On the basis is our more than 5,000 primary cooperatives. You see on this slide in the bottom left, we have the financial cooperatives, and in the center, the rural or the agricultural cooperatives, and to the right, trading and commercial cooperatives. Every cooperative in Germany has to be member of one of the federations. We have 5 regional federations which serve the needs of the cooperatives in their respective region, and 5 specialized federations which serve certain cooperatives in certain sectors. It is important to be a member of a cooperative because the cooperative federations, they provide audit for they provide the annual audit for the cooperatives. Each cooperative needs to be audited once a year, and the cooperative federations, they have auditing licenses in Germany. So on the top level, national level, you have 3 sector federations: the National Federation of Cooperative Banks, BVR, the German Raiffeisen Federation, DRV, which is the federations for the agricultural cooperatives, and the Mittelstandsverbund, ZGB, which is the federation for medium-sized enterprises. And as was already said, DGRB is the top-level umbrella organization for the cooperative sector. Today, we will talk more about the left side, the financial cooperatives of Germany, within the federation BVR. If you look at savings and credit cooperatives in Germany, you see this V logo here. This is the common logo shared by all savings and credit cooperatives in Germany, or cooperative banks. I will explain why I call them cooperative banks. We have 814 local savings and credit cooperatives in Germany. According to the law, each of these needs to have a full banking license and is also supervised by the Federal Banking Supervision Authority, the BaFin, and the German Central Bank, the Bundesbank. Because they have banking licenses, we call them cooperative banks. But the cooperative banks are different from the large multinational banks, which you might think of. These cooperative banks are really rooted in their region, in their area, and they have very strong connections to the local economy in their environment, to local members, and to local small and medium-sized enterprises. So because of that, in the further presentation, I will call them savings and loan cooperatives. So the savings and loan cooperatives, as you see, they share a logo, but each individual cooperative is their own self-responsible institution. Each individual cooperative has their own decision-making powers, and each individual cooperative has their own responsibility to keep a sound financial and a sound risk position. The local credit cooperatives, they don't compete with each other. They compete with the rest of the financial sector in Germany, and they form a it was also earlier said, this term, a solidarity network, because they are connected as credit cooperatives. And one way of this connection is actually the so-called Institution Protection Fund that was mentioned already. So what is institutional protection? In order to briefly explain what that concept is, I would like to put it into contrast with the topic of deposit insurance, which was already mentioned earlier today. Deposit insurance ensures the deposits of clients of banks. If Bank A fails, then the clients of this bank will be compensated up to a certain amount for the losses of deposits. So deposit insurance is focused on compensation of clients that lose money, and it's focused on the single institutions which are failing. The German cooperative sector, or the German savings and credit cooperatives, they have developed a different system called institutional protection system. Instead of focusing on compensating losses once an institution fails, the institutional protection mechanism tries to prevent the failure of the savings and credit cooperative. So it tries to create a situation where the members of the cooperative are not even in the danger of losing their deposits. And as I mentioned it already, instead of focusing on a single institution which fails, the institutional protection mechanism is embedded in a network of joint solidarity and at the end also joint liability. That means if an institution fails, the institutional protection fund can provide the capital for restructuring this institution. But the other credit cooperatives, they also have a joint liability, meaning they will provide extra support if that is needed. The goals of both kinds of mechanisms are at the end similar. They are to protect the depositors from losing their asset and thus to stabilize the financial system and build public trust in the institutions of the financial system. So it's a mechanism to build trust in the sector and confidence in the sector and to prevent things like bank runs from happening. At the end, the institutional protection mechanism is at the end effectively protecting the deposits of the clients also, because if of course the saving and loan cooperative does not fail, it will be able to also repay the deposits of the members. So just a very brief view on the history. The first institutional protection scheme, IPS, was established 1934 in Germany. It was established as a regional IPS, so not for the whole country of Germany, but just for a certain region. And after 1934, several other regional IPS have been established in Germany. The IPS has been established after the world economic crisis in 1929 until 1933, I think, in order to stabilize the system of saving and loan cooperatives. After a long history of having several regional institutional protection schemes in 2002, 2003, all institutional protection schemes have been centralized under the leadership of BVR, the German Cooperative Banking Federation, which we have seen earlier in the slide. And moving now to the recent history, 2019, the institutional protection mechanism has been integrated into the system of deposit protection frameworks in Europe. We will not have the time to discuss this today, but at the end there have been reforms made so that the institutional protection scheme in Germany can fulfill the obligations that a regular deposit insurance scheme also has to fulfill. The German IPS is the worldwide first guarantee fund, which is only funded through private sources. So there's no government funding involved. It's completely funded through contributions of the member network. It has been developed over a long period of time, collecting experiences and reforming the structure continuously. And it had 80 years of success, more than 80 years of successful history. There have been no cases where clients lost where members of cooperatives lost their money and had to be compensated. There have been no bank runs on on savings and loan cooperatives. And there has been no public funding or no subsidies for credit and loan cooperatives. It has been successfully stabilizing the system of savings and loan cooperatives in Germany. A brief glimpse on this slide shows that during the time of the regional institutional protection frameworks, there have been quite a significant amount of rehabilitations. We call rehabilitations if the institutional protection framework had to support institutions to prevent them from failing. But throughout the time, it has always been successfully supporting these cooperatives in consolidating and restructuring, so that as I mentioned before, members did not have to lose any of their assets. If you see now the green line after 2003, after the centralization, the numbers have decreased considerably. This is probably due to an increase in standards, a harmonization of standards in risk management, in monitoring and supervision of the member cooperatives of the institutional protection framework, and also shows us the importance of a good, sound, harmonized framework for risk management, which I will talk about in a few moments. Just to show you how it's structures, I will not go into detail here, as it would take too long, but the institutional protection mechanism is headed by BVR, the German Cooperative Banking Federation. They have an internal fund, the Internal Institution Protection Fund, which has been the traditional institution protection fund, and since it's integrated into the deposit insurance framework of Europe, a separate limited company, which is owned by BVR, had to be established, the BVR Institutional Protection Limited. But together, these two funds, they nowadays, they together are the Institutional Protection Fund, which we are talking about. And as you see on the bottom, it's funded through annually risk-adjusted fees by the members of this fund, and it's supported by the scheme of joint liability, again, by the network of joint solidarity between the 814 credit and saving cooperatives in Germany. A brief look into this. So institutional protection in theory could also mean moral hazard, meaning that institutions might not take so much care about their financial position because they think if something happens, I will be protected anyway. But there are some mechanisms which mitigate these risks. First of all, the joint liability is creating very strong incentives to create a strong joint framework of monitoring and risk management. Because if I know that I will have to support my neighbor financially if he's if in the worst case scenario, then of course I will also take good care in ensuring that my neighbor is not gambling with the money he has. So the cooperative, the saving and loan cooperatives, they do have a strong incentive of establishing and following a very sound framework of prudential risk management, prudential and risk management. So under BVR, there's a standardized controlling, there are standardized controlling and risk management tools and standards for all financial cooperatives. The BVR is supporting each savings and credit cooperative in this topic of risk management. There's an annual audit, as I mentioned before, and a risk rating through the federations and through the institutional protection scheme. And very important, the institutional protection scheme under BVR is able to intervene into single saving and credit cooperatives in case they get into trouble, in case their risk levels are too high. Altogether, it is very important that the focus of the institutional protection mechanism is focused not on compensation, is focused not on providing funds for ailing credit and saving cooperatives, but its focus is on prevention, to work together with the savings and credit cooperatives in order to prevent a situation where a saving and loan cooperative gets in trouble. So how does it do that? One very important building block of this risk management framework is the risk classification. The risk classification is being organized by the institutional protection framework. This risk classification is purely based on quantitative data and quantitative indicators from the financial statements. So it looks at the asset position, it looks at the profitability position and at the risk position based on pre-selected indicators. And then it will analyze these indicators in an automatic process and then rate each single of the 814 savings and credit cooperatives in a certain risk category between A++ and between D. So what do we do with these risk categories? What happens is that the cooperative's fee that it has to pay annually into the institutional protection framework is being adjusted according to this risk class. So if you have a very good, very sound risk position, then you only have to pay 80% of the base rate into the institutional protection framework. But if you have very high risks in your financial statements, you will have to pay 140% of the base rate. This helps because on the one side, savings and loan cooperatives, they are incentivized to limit the risks that they take. And at the same time, the savings and loan cooperatives, which are at most risk of needing support in the future, will also have to pay a relative higher contribution into the fund. But this risk classification is not only used as a tool to calculate fees. The risk classification is also being used for monitoring purposes. So if you look at here, the institutional protection fund or the institutional protection scheme is, I mentioned that before, is not only focused on managing a fund and providing capital in case a savings and loan cooperative fails, but it is employing a whole process of classification, monitoring or prevention management, and then support mechanism in the worst case scenario. We saw the risk classification on the left side of the slide. The risk classification process already, it's an annual process, it's an automated process, and it's based on quantitative indicators. And then there is an ongoing monitoring by BVR, by the institutional protection mechanism, in monitoring the developments of the cooperatives and continuously identifying possible problems that could arise with single savings and loan cooperatives. The goal here is to reach an early identification of problems before the problem gets worse, and to avoid any form of risking insolvency. If the fund sees that there are problems with a certain cooperative, there's a prevention process. So the cooperative will be observed. There will be a coaching and consulting of this cooperative by BVR. And there could be a restructuring that the institutional protection scheme will be supporting in the cooperative. So there will be support by BVR for this savings and loan cooperative to restructure their business, reorient their business to go back onto a profitable path. These two steps, monitoring and prevention, which are part of prevention management, this is a standardized procedure. In BVR, there are handbooks for these and standardized processes. It's in contrast to the classification process, not an automized process. Yeah, the classification, they have data, they classify the cooperatives, but this is a standard procedure where the colleagues in BVR will be able to go to the bank and through their standardized procedure support the cooperative in improving their performance. In the worst case scenario, if nothing helps and the cooperative, the savings and loan cooperative becomes insolvent, there's the rehabilitation process. This is a highly individualized standard procedure. And here certain rescue measures are being agreed with the cooperative. The Institutional Protection Fund is, of course, there to support these processes with capital, and As I mentioned before, there's a joint liability network, so other cooperatives are there to support this process. In some cases, for example, it could mean that there will be a merger between cooperatives, and then the new savings and loan cooperative after the merger will be restructured. And yes, so this is in short the process of in very short and very simple terms, the process on how the institutional protection mechanism or the institutional protection scheme is trying to is focusing their work on preventing cooperatives from failing. I go back just to get that to remind everyone. It's about the risk classification, and then about the whole process from classification to monitoring to prevention, and only in worst case scenario rehabilitation. So if you, again, I always repeat that because this is a very important message. It's not a fund which waits until a cooperative collapses, but it's integrated in the whole process of risk management so that a collapse is at the end prevented, and that the funds of the institutional protection scheme do not have to be used in the end. So supervision of the fund is of course also an important aspect of a sound system. There are annual independent audits of BVR, including the institutional protection funds. The audit reports will be sent to the supervisory board of BVR, to all of the federations who are a member of the BVR, as well as to the German Financial Regulatory Authority, the BaFin, and the German Central Bank, the Bundesbank. So here, all these entities, they receive the audit report, and in case there is a problem, these parties can intervene. And the Financial Regulatory Authority, BaFin, they have the right to conduct audits of BVR and of the institutional protection scheme. I'm looking on the watch, and yeah, I'm a little bit over time, so I will close my presentation here. This has been a very, very brief and very basic outlook on institutional protection frameworks in Germany. One could go much more deeper, and if there is, of course, the interest of going deeper into these mechanisms, we are ready to cooperate. Just a few takeaways at the end. So the institutional protection scheme, they can boost trust in the financial system, or especially in this case in the network of credit and saving cooperatives. As I mentioned a few times before, it's part of the joint solidarity network, but it's also that doesn't only mean that other savings and loan cooperatives are responsible in providing funding in the worst case, but they also benefit from this network of solidarity. Because of this institutional protection framework, there is a high level of public trust. Because of the institutional protection framework, there's a high level of risk management implemented in all financial cooperatives. And because of that, every single credit and loan cooperative also benefits from this public trust. As I mentioned, there have been no banking runs for any financial cooperatives since the IPS has been implemented. And there has not been a single case where a member of a savings and loan cooperative had to be compensated for losses being made because a cooperative fails. So from this high level of trust, and may I remark also, during the 2008 financial crisis, where a lot of German banks had to receive public funding, not a single savings and credit cooperative was in need for public funding. This was also a benefit of the government at the end to have this protection scheme. And the sound level of risk management. But it is essential, as I mentioned also, that all the institutions are operating prudentially in a sound way. So if, of course, this whole network relies on the fact that each savings and loan cooperative also takes good care of their own financial position, of their own risk positions. This consistent and high level of risk management is an important factor that this network, that this joint solidarity network works, and that the trust can be built over time. Therefore, the key elements for sustainable and effective institutional protection mechanisms are that there's a proper supervision of the member cooperatives through the protection framework, that there's sound and comparable risk management practices in the whole sector, that there is an there are effective preventive actions taken before the worst case scenario takes place, and that there is also a systematic audit and supervision of the protection framework in the end. These are my last words. I hope I was able to explain in a good and understandable way about how institutional protection in Germany works. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I wish you all continuously a good cooperative month, and yes, have a good day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zach, for that interesting presentation. Mr. Zach, I'd like to ask, you mentioned that there has been 80 years of successful history in Germany and no bank runs, no public funding subsidies, and no compensation cases. Is that correct?
Exactly, yes. That does not mean there have not been restructurings happening through the institutional protection framework. As I said in the slide before, there have been, of course, cases where savings and loan cooperatives have reached a level of insolvency and have been in trouble. But the institutional protection framework has been able to solve these problems in a way without getting external public funding. So they have been successfully using their mechanisms in restructuring and consolidating savings and loan cooperatives so that public trust was being able to be maintained, and so that the members of these cooperatives which were impacted did not have to lose any of their deposits that they have put into the cooperatives.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing and inspiring. Mr. Zach, thank you so much. But may we request you to please stay on, because I'm sure our participants will have questions later on.
Of course, yes, I will stay here.
Yeah, thank you very much for that presentation, Mr. Zach. So, ladies and gentlemen, the focus of the German system is more on institutional protection rather than deposit insurance. So it's really a different kind of mindset that we need to have if we are going to succeed as cooperatives. And the focus should be on preventing co-ops to fail. And it's also, it's about joint liability in the network. So the German system is really about solidarity and cooperation among cooperatives. Okay, so also there is risk classification based on quantitative measures. So I'm sure all of you have questions, and there have been many requests about how they can obtain this presentation, this PowerPoint. We will send it to you through email. If you can send it through the PCC or through the chat box, your email address, we will send it to you. All right. So Mr. Zach will answer our questions later on. So we will now move on with our program. So now we will see what are the fruits of DGRB's efforts in the Philippines. So as already mentioned, since 2008, NATCO has been offering the Stabilization Fund system to cooperatives, and there are now 88 credit cooperatives of NATCO under the supervision and protection of the Stabilization Fund system. Please take note there are two segments about the Stabilization Fund. There is inspection and protection as well. So sa kahuli-hulihan na po yung support, yung fund support. It will come in the last portion, only when it's necessary. So if you find it complicated, well, maybe, but it is definitely interesting to all of us, all right? So here to explain to us the NATCO Stabilization Fund Systems framework, she is a certified public accountant, and she leads the NATCO Stabilization Fund unit, and her team oversees the operations of 88 cooperatives. So that's not an easy job. Napakahirap po ng trabaho na yon. But she's doing it anyway, she and her team. So to present us today the NATO Stabilization Fund framework, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Sharon Marie D. Sharon, you have the floor and you can present to us.
Thank you so much, Sir Dado.
Thank you, Sharon. You are loud and clear.
Thank you.
Okay. So please, Sharon, go ahead. Sharon, I think you are on mute. But we can see the first page of your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, see Ms. Sharon D is presenting to us all the way from Cagayan de Oro, so there must be some technical problem at the moment. And right now, we have 461 participants in the room and lots of requests for the presentation of Mr. Zak. So ladies and gentlemen, we will send to you the presentation. Very interesting. We were very sure that you will find it interesting. Okay, is Miss Sharon still in the room? Let me check on that. Yeah, we are having some weather disturbed, heavy rainfall in many parts of the country. So internet has been a challenge to many of our speakers and our participants as well. Okay, so while we are waiting for Sharon D to present her the framework of NATCO, can we move on initially to the next presenter, Mother Rita Multipurpose Cooperative, which is under the Stabilization Fund of NATCO Network. If that is possible, if our speaker, Ms. Tina Udan, is ready. There's a co-op that's going to present their experience under the Stabilization Fund of NATCO. And very interesting din po yun, ano? Yung kanilang experience kasi they're 20-plus-year-old co-op in Zambales. The name of the co-op is Mother Rita Multipurpose Cooperative in Candelaria, Zambales. Ray, please unmute Ms. Tina Udan. She will be presenting to us about Mother Rita.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, Miss Udan. Thank you so much for um, being ahead of
Yes,
schedule.
yes, my goodness. It's good that the rain and the wind stopped here in Zambales this morning. But
That is
last
divine.
night, oh my goodness,
That's
we,
divine
we
providence.
lost power, we lost internet last night. Yes.
So you're
So,
really here to present to us today, ma'am. We are very interested to hear about your experience
my
in Madarita.
goodness. Yes, a pleasant good morning to all the participants in this Finance Cluster Forum from the legislative body, from NATCO, from PCC, from the United Co-op Movement, of course, from CDA, and from Germany. Sir Mark, good morning. Yes, uh, we are very honored that we are part of the first 88 co-ops, credit co-ops in the Philippines to be a member of the Stabilization Fund. Uh, yes, please allow me. I don't know that will be the first to share what happened to Ma'am Sharon. Sir Dado, I forwarded to you, I emailed to you the presentation. Please, someone has to take charge in the,
Okay.
yes,
Okay. Just a moment.
yes, sir.
Yeah, our technical team will take care of that.
Thank you, Sir Dado.
Sir, ma'am, I was reviewing your presentation and the story of your cooperative is really inspiring. Ang galing, galing talaga. And I'm sure our participants will be interested to hear.
Yeah, pinapalakas mo ang loob ko, Sir Dado.
Oh, ma'am, we're excited about the Stabilization Fund and we should all be excited about it.
Yes, okay. So we
Okay.
have embraced this theme of the NatConnect in the GA last April, cooperatives thriving in a VUCA world. Next slide, please. Yes, we welcome you to Zambales, a strip of land between mountains and seas. Next slide, please. Yes, and the reason for our existence is because of the Pinatubo eruption in 1991, June. So Pinatubo was the Pinatubo eruption caused disaster in Zambales and even in the other parts of the country. But now, as you see in the picture, Mount Pinatubo becomes one of the tourist attractions in the area. Next slide, please. So happy Co-op Month to all. We are one with you in embracing the theme for the Co-op Month celebration. We want to prove that we are resilient, especially in this time of pandemic crisis. We want to respond actively to the challenges caused by the crisis. We want to give answer so that we'll be able to recover from the impact of the pandemic, and we want to give hope to our members and the community where we belong. Next slide. So thank you for allowing us to be part of this forum to share our stabilization fund experiences with the Stab Fund of NATCO. Thank you. Next slide, please. So Madarita MPC is almost 30 years old cooperative, and even if we have 30 years in operation, we are still a poor man's cooperative. So our cooperative was born in 1991, 6 months after the Pinatubo eruption. We were organized by the Agustinian Sisters of Our Lady of Consolation in San Juan City. So the first move of the sisters was to put up Madarita Community Center. It's a non-stock, non-profit organization who took charge in developing a resettlement area for the Pinatubo victims. Next slide, please. So from the start, you will know that Madarita was born out of crisis. So I believe that is the cause why we have a high level of crisis tolerance. So based on history, The initial projects and interventions are all to respond to the crisis. And one of the response is the organization of Maderita Multipurpose Cooperative in December of 1991. Next slide, please. Yes, so fortunately, after 8 months, we were formally registered with CDA in February of 1992. And our aim, just like you, is to promote cooperativism as a way of life of the settlers. So, meaning our members were Mount Pinatu victims. So, what do you expect if the victims are the first members, were the first members of the co-op? So, our first cooperative intervention was the organization or the putting up of the co-op store to supply the basic food needs and house needs of the settlers. And we were involved in relief goods distribution from generous people and donors. Next slide, please. And this was the result of our year one in 1992. No, it's not 1991, sorry. So we got only 54 members with a share capital build up reaching only 10,586, and our first loan releases went to 5 members only for 7,560 pesos, all for only for petty cash purposes. Next slide. Yes. Then after a decade of operation, I will just show you some picture slides. Flash, please, the picture slide so that you will know saan naging busy ang Maderita sa after ng 10 taon na operation nito. Please just flash the slides because these are all pictures. Just to show you that we are alive. We are kicking in Zambales for the past 30 years. More slides to be flashed. Yes, go on. Yes. So there are a lot of trainings, capability building, values formation of our structures because we were able to buy a parcel of land in 2004. Yes, go on. So you will see in the pictures on a per year basis what were the simple achievements of Maderita MPC from 2007 to the present. Yes, go on. Yes. We were able to put up around 7 satellites from 2012 to 2020. Stop, please. Yes. So these are our partners and our network. We are proud to be a member of NATCO Network since birth through the Cooperative Education and Development Center of the Agustinian Sisters. So we have this. As of now, we are actively involved in SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig membership, and collection work. We were accredited a number of years. Yes, next slide. So in 2018, we need to revisit our vision, mission, and shared values because we were having some problems in the governance, in the management, and in the membership. So the board and the team decided to sit for a number of days to revisit our vision. So we arrived at a new vision, mission, and goal statement. Slide, please. Yes, because we were founded by the Augustinian Sisters, of course, we have Saint Augustine as our inspiration, our model, and because of the crisis brought by the Mount Pinatubo eruption, we have this operative metaphor, Ininto ang buhangin, which we commonly known as lahar. Next slide, please. So we need to change our vision to make it more responsive to the call of stewardship among members and communities. And we have to accept the fact that the most important resource of the organization are the people, our officers, our staff, our members, and the people in the community where we are. So this is our new vision formulated in 2018. And then our mission, because going back to our roots, we were Agustinians. So we have this kind of mission statement. Next, our shared values, of course, aside from because of the call of the times, so we strongly believe in the values of self-help, self-responsibility, mutual interdependence, integrity, transparency, and competence so that we'll be able to achieve excellence in whatever endeavor we are in the cooperative. Next slide. For the information of the body, as of August 31, 2021, to prove to you that we are still a poor man's cooperative, is the profile. Our total assets only reached 379.6 million in around 30 years' time. And our loan portfolio, 4,769 of our members are borrowing, and our loan portfolio is around 71% of our total assets. The average loan per head is only 57,000, and the range is from 10,000 to 1.5 million. And we are trying our best to fully provide, but because of write-off cases, the balance is only around 9 million. And then because of the pandemic, we started investments in for future expansion. So around 13% of our total assets are in investments because the loan portfolio is getting lower because of the low loan takers and because of the problems caused by the pandemic. Our deposit liabilities total 41% of total assets, but on the average, it's only 15,000 per member. Our share capital, because we are still waiting for the amendments of our authorized share, so we only have 21% of total assets, but on the average, it's only 8,000 pesos per member. Because Zambales is between mountains and the seas, the main sources of income are in agriculture and fishing. And this is a high risk endeavor when we finance agricultural activities. So we have an external borrowings of around 35% as of August. Our members are around 9,618. We are an implementer of the Aflatun program. More than 6,000 youth and children are members of this program since 2008 with NATCO, of course. But the average of the savings of the children are only 2,000 per head. We have 7 officers in entire Zambales, and our management team composed of around 72 full-timers. Thank you. Next slide. Next slide, please. And these are our savings product. Next slide. Just flash the slides, please. Yes, these are our new products and services. We started in 2019. Go. Next slide, please. Yes. Next slide. Next slide. Yes. Next slide, please. Yes. 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 We have a co-op homeschool. We are promoting gender and development. Yes. And then here's our favorite, the Madrita Laboratory Cooperative with the Aflatun program next. And then we have these technology advancements. Next. Yes, and this is our latest. We are implementing Kaya platform just this August. Yes, next slide, please. And then here we are, our stub fund experience, our pains and gains. So in 2013, why we joined the system. So they started 2008, but we became member only in 2013. So it is clear that our purpose is to ensure cooperative stability. We want their risk-based evaluation, inspection, and of course, their deposit protection, not insurance, their deposit protection. A safety net for us in Zambales to gain more trust from the community and the members. We can be high risk takers, but we also need to identify and measure those risks and ensure that safety nets are put in place in order to safeguard the interests of all our cooperative stakeholders, just like any other cooperative. You know? We must always bear in mind that the co-op resources are from the hard-earned money of our members, as you see in the averages. It took them so long to produce uh, savings and to have capital in the cooperative, but still, when we get the averages, it's still small. So we realize that self-regulation at the primary cooperative level is a very complicated matter for our board and senior management, particularly if we do not seek valuable assistance from our federation, our NATCO network. So we are really happy and we are really lucky that we belong to the NATCO net since birth. So our stub fund membership in 2013 was only 25,000, but in 2015, our board decided to increase it and make it 500,000. Next slide, please. And our first risk-based evaluation face-to-face happened in October of 2018, and it was too heartbreaking for the leaders because we've been operating for almost 26 years and we have to face the results because they are true. No? It seems that in summary, there were 11 risk items during the evaluation. And the summary, we are coded red. 9 risk items were coded red and 2 were moderate or yellow coded. We do not have low risk item there. So out of the 11 risk items, the findings, we have to address 53 important issues. Next slide, please. And this was our appeal ratios from 2014 to September of 2018. As you see, it is not really appealing to our eyes because so many were coded red. So if we are afraid of the risk, we might be closing shops, but we have to face the realities that these are only risks. We have to keep on doing our best so that in the future we'll be able to have some more appealing rates there. Next slide, please. So in summary, the risk rating in 2018, our overall rating was high, coded red. So nakita ko yung presentation ni Sir Mark from Germany when the code was red. Is red in that presentation, the fees will be 130%. My goodness. If we are going to have that kind of system in the Philippines, we will be paying so much fees in the stub fund. So it's good that we know these things ahead of time. Next. So what we like most in the risk-based evaluation in 2018 was the identification of the top priorities to address. So in 2018, out of the more than 50 risk items that we need to address, they are summarized in these risk priorities, top priorities. So it was found out that there's a need to realign our strategic plans. Particularly, we need to set priorities to improve our solvency and institutional capital, decrease our PAR as to percentage and amount, and then so much focus was given to delinquency reduction and credit and collection management. And then we have to strengthen controls and create a controlled environment. So we should have a full operations review, ensure that effective and efficient controls are in place. Our policies, procedures, systems and procedures, our PSPs must be checked to ensure strict and uniform implementation in all the branches that we have way back 2018. So it's hurting, but after 2.5 years of hard work and 1.5 years of the period is pandemic crisis, applying new normal ways of doing things, we really did not want at first to be subjected to the second risk-based evaluation, but finally we said yes. Although it's pandemic, siguro it will be better to see what happened after 2.5 years. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. So the objectives was the objectives of the second review were different from the first because it's pandemic time. So the three objectives were set to determine the extent of COVID's impact, and then to identify the various risks the cooperative is confronted with. And what we like most is that Stab Fund will assist us in coming up with risk responses to become a new and better cooperative. Next slide, please. So these were the supervision and monitoring roadmap of the Stab Fund with us at Maderita. Yes, next slide, please. And from 11 risk items that the second evaluation, we were the only 8 risk items were given focus: strategic risk, operational risk on human resource, compliance risk, security risk on information technology and records and information management, of course, credit risk, operational risk on cash and accounting, and financial performance risk. And then, again, these were the appeal ratios cut off June 2021. So the last evaluation was September 2018. So we have the December 2018, 2019, and 2020 year-end appeal ratios. And after 2020, Stab Fund wanted a monthly financial performance analysis. It's really not yet that appealing because we still have so much red codes, but we are happy there are some improvements. Yes, next slide, please. Yes, maganda din na nakita nila na hindi na pataas ang aming mga graphical presentation sa delinquency and sa aging of loans. Next. And we are happy that before the Stab Fund review in July, last December, though it's pandemic, the board and the senior management and the officers sat down for a number of days to develop this 5-year plan, which is summarized in this blueprint. So we were able to identify in this 5-year plan our strategic themes, the strategic results that we want every year and in the 5-year period, as well as the strategic objectives and the strategy map. So we spent time to really do this because we are hopeful that the pandemic will end soon and we will be able to go back to our normal life, although we will be following new normal ways of doing things in the cooperative. Next slide, please. And we are happy that we have this 2018 matrix of compliance for the second risk-based evaluation, based on the findings of 2018, we were able to close 23 findings, and that's 52% of the total findings in 2018. And then partially, we were able to regularize 14 risk items, that's 32%. And we, based on the 2018 RBE, only 7 findings were not yet acted upon, so that's 16%, and we are happy that we have this in 2.5 years. Next slide, please. So comparing the results of the 2018 risk-based evaluation and the 2021 virtual risk-based evaluation, we now have this picture. From the 9 red marked high risk, we only have 3 now, and then we have 5 moderate and 3 low. So we are very happy that our hard work nagbunga naman ang aming mga pagpupunyagi ng 2.5 taon. Although siguro pwede naming irason na because of the pandemic, maraming na-delay na trabaho ng 2020 to address our risk on finance and credit. So the actions which were supposed to be taken in 2020 were already done or are being done this year only. So we were just done with the consultancy services of NATCO on credit risk management. So that was our answer doon sa findings ng 2018 sa high rating namin sa credit operations. But the engagement was approved in 2019, supposedly implemented in 2020, but because of the call to address the impact of the pandemic in 2020, we decided that we have to do it in 2021 only. So we have just finished our credit intervention with NATCO last July, and September onwards will be our transition period for the implementation of the output of the credit risk management intervention. So our overall rating, we got moderate, although it's done virtually. Kami naman sa kooperatiba, kahit na ganyan ang evaluation, alam namin kung saan kami naroon, at kami din yung gagawa upang maging much better pa yung ating risk management dito sa Maderita. Next slide, please. So the latest priorities identified after the second RBE, we have this improvement on financial performance because in the 5-year plan, we really have that projection to decrease our external borrowings to a lower rate. So in order to do that, we really have to be focused on increasing our internal fund, though it is hard these pandemic times. And then for the branch performance, we need to standardize. Second, reforming credit management. As I've said, we are just done with the credit risk management intervention of NATCO Consultancy, and we are in our transition period in implementing the learnings and the outputs of that intervention. And then for the people, for our human resources, we need to we have this plan on engaging again the consultancy services of NATCO for our performance management system of our human resources. And then the fourth one, reconfiguration of processes, technological advancement, adoption. Yes, next slide, please. So what comes next after knowing the RBE findings and recommendations? So we are on our own. We have to sit together and do some detailed action planning based on the output of the RBE. Then the board approves, and then we implement. And then this time we arrive at a decision that we have to be with a stub fund every year, so that yearly we will be able to have this risk-based evaluation. We still manage to maintain our autonomy and independence in the decision-making process. After each RVE, we see the staff fund more of an enabler rather than a regulator. They just provide us recommendations and models or examples, and it is up to us in the primary to make choices for the betterment of our cooperative. So we like the way they help us in the risk-based evaluation. They enable us to see our risks, to accept our risks, and then to do whatever we can to lessen the risks. Yes, thank you. Next slide, please. Yes, Sir Dado. Yes, for the stub fund experience, we learn to name the risk items that we face. We count the risk per risk item, color code the risk, do our best to mitigate the risk identified, and as much as possible, reduce the risk measure to moderate to low. We have to accept the fact that there will always be risk, but we remember always we are a cooperative and we hold on to our co-op identity. And we have to stick to the vision mission that we are there for the membership. So we will not leave them. With this, thank you very much for the time. I'm sorry, nag-exceed yata ako, Sir Dado. Maraming
Okay lang.
salamat at happy co-op month po sa lahat. Sir Dado, back to you.
Yeah, ma'am, very interesting po talaga.
Thank you.
Yung kinuwento niyo po no na nung una niyo nakita yung mga red spots, yung mga high risk ninyo, talagang nagulat kayo.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
At
Parang-
masakit sa loob kasi 26 years na kami nun, sir, eh.
Yeah.
So it's very hard na purihin namin ng sarili namin, although alam naman natin na marami talagang risiko, sir. Maganda yung tool na ginagamit at hindi naman pwede na itanggi namin kasi hindi naman pwede na magsinungaling yung figure, sir.
Yeah, that's totoo po yun.
Yes.
Parang ano eh, no? Parang ikaw nagpa-blood test ka tapos nakita mo na, uy, mataas pala yung iyong creatinine, mga
Yes,
cholesterol mo. Pero wala ka namang nararamdaman, okay ka naman. Pero hindi mo pwedeng pabayaan yung ganun eh, na mataas
Yes,
yung...
sir.
Yeah, parang ganun ano, yung diagnosis sa kooperatiba. Parang
Yeah.
blood test.
Yes, sir. Stage 4 ang credit operations namin way back 2018. Kaya nag-ICU kami sa NATCO Consultancy, sir.
Anyway,
Nag-ICU kami sa consultancy. Because we accept na problema talaga, sir, ang delinquency management. Sa primary, lalo na agricultural cooperative kami. Yes,
but now
sir.
you feel better, di ba? It's,
Yes, sir. So the second evaluation, sir, we concentrated on the inputs, no? Kasi output na yung financial ratios. The figures are the outputs, but we consider na maraming mali sa inputs, sa policy, sa system, sa mga proseso. Kaya ganun yung lumalabas sa financial appeal ratios. So we need to accept the fact that's real, no? Totoo yan. Yes, thank you.
Saka yung chart ninyo, yung comparison ng 2018 versus 2019 is really impressive.
Thank you, sir. So much to be done.
I think Mr. Zach has a question. Mr. Zach?
Just a small remark, because you said something about the risk rating and the potentially high fees. I think it's very important to always keep in mind that the German system has been developed also. I mean, it has been 80 years successfully, but it has been developing also throughout these 80 years. We didn't start like this, like we are today at that time. So that you are looking more at risk management and that you're taking a more systematic approach at this is a very important and very good start. And then you have to see from the framework conditions of the Philippines and from the state of the sector in the Philippines, how do we take steps from this basis onwards with the vision in our head, but taking realistic steps first. I think this is very important to keep in mind. Otherwise, it might feel discouraging of seeing a system which has been in place for 80 years already and try to expect to land there right with the first few steps. Just a remark. So very impressive. Yeah, I
sir.
found the presentation very interesting.
Thank you, Sir Zach.
Thank you, Mr. Zach. Unfortunately, see Sharon D is we lost her again because of the internet and because of the weather. So we will now proceed with our question and answer, but I'm sure our participants have some questions. So while we're waiting for Sharon to arrive, we will be accepting questions from our participants. Okay, Mr. RC Alcazar has raised his hand. Mr. Alcazar, please give us your question.
Yeah, good morning. This is in relation to the proposed stabilization fund. But my question would relate to the updating of the more than maybe isabay what I mean, no? The threshold amount for tax exemption was passed by law, I think in 2008, that was 10 years ago. The threshold amount is 10 billion for tax exemption to be exempted. Now, 10 billion 10 years ago is no longer 10 billion now. Okay? Sa stabilization legislation, maybe that can be included, that can be updated to raise the threshold amount from 10 billion. In the same way, with regards to the definition of micro enterprises, well, this may be a separate topic. No, the definition of, well, kasi involved rin naman tayo sa MSE. The definition of micro enterprise was defined 20 years ago, 3 million. 3 million then was still 3 million, but today 3 million is no longer 3 million, in the same manner that the 10 million threshold for cooperatives for tax exemption is no longer 10 million now. It has to be updated, no, kung sakaling we are going to be proposing a legislation for the stabilization fund. Dapat isa pa yun. By the way, I am Raul Alcazar from Online Microsellers Marketing Cooperative. We are microsellers of Lazada and we are 30,000 strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alcazar. Regarding yung sa reserves na 10 million sinasabi nyo, I think the Co-op NATCO party list has mentioned, specifically, Congressman Kanama has mentioned that Co-op NATCO will push for the repeal of that particular portion in the cooperative code. Kasi nga, irrelevant, the 10 million is irrelevant reserves because of inflation. So there is a move now in Congress. I think our Congressman Kanama is going to move for the repeal of that portion of the law. So anyway, we will assure you that our sector, our regulators, and your federations are in constant communication with our legislators regarding that matter. And we will make changes in the cooperative code as needed. And we will keep you posted, the co-op sector. All right, Mr. Alcazar, thank you for that question. So we have another question here from CBMPC. Yes, thank you, Mr. Alcazar. Okay. Mr. Rogelio, please give us your question.
Okay, good morning. No?
Good morning.
Number one, may I ask our co-op party list nominees or officers, what is the legislative agenda related to cooperatives by our party list nominees or even the co-op party list itself?
Let me check, Mr. Decal, if we have if we have representatives from the party list or the
Either
nominees.
Alex or Divine or Mr. Espares, anyone can answer from them.
Yes. We maybe call on someone from the party list, one of our nominees, if you're present. As far as we know, see Miss Divine. Okay, our PCC CEO said yes, he can give an answer. Mr. Edwin Bustillos. Sir Edwin? Sir Ray, can you please unmute our participants who would like to speak?
Yes, hello. Good morning to everyone.
Sir
Sir Mark, Sir Roger. I was very active in all the webinars that being called by the sector. Actually, this legislative agenda was a product of consultations. First consultation among the leaders of the COP-NATCO party list, the National Cooperative Development Council, and the Liga ng mga Cooperative Development Officers ng Pilipinas. So far, this consultation produced a draft document that will be presented soon. One is that with the able and very firm leadership of these cooperatives I've mentioned, including the CNPL, are pushing for the following. One is the retention of the tax exemption of cooperatives. Two, requiring each local government to allot cooperatives of at least 2% of its appropriation for development projects. Third is the stabilization fund should be passed into law. Fourth is the cooperative development insurance. Fifth is the establishing this transport cooperative fund, loan cooperative fund, institutionalizing the PUB modernization program with just transition, creating a measure to seek the amendment of the Philippine Crop Insurance, the creation or the passage of the Cooperative Banking Act, the condonation of the unpaid interest penalties and other surcharges on loans secured by farmers, among others, strengthening the PCIC, of course, the amendments of pertinent provisions of Republic Act 9520. These are just some of the legislative agenda that we are about to present to the legislators. And so far, COP-NATCO party lists have already agreed in principle in this legislative agenda. And this will be presented also to other legislators if they will adopt and pursue this legislative agenda. Sir Dato, Sir Roger, thank you for the time that I shared this legislative agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we heard the PCC General Manager, Mr. Edwin Bustillos. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have online again Miss Sharon D. Sharon, are you around? Are you in the room now?
Yes, Sir Dado, finally. I am so sorry.
That is good.
I've lost my connectivity twice. Yeah. So it's very timely, I guess, that Ma'am Tina of Murimsi initially shared their experience with the Stabilization Fund of NATCO. It somehow augmented, and she gave really a total overview of what NATCO Stabilization Fund has been doing since the time that it was introduced by ACU in 2008. I also would like to give recognition to Ma'am Lenny. She is the CEO of ACU, who is joining us this morning as well. So we were talking about business risk we were talking about the cooperative in a business of trust. So we are keying in when we talk about cooperative protection scheme. It is a common knowledge that in the public's eye, their confidence level to cooperatives are secondary to that of banks. It's because always, members or potential members would really ask, is the enterprise that we are investing to are safe? Are they having a very good governance framework? Are they following to prudential standards? Because following to prudential standards and having a very good governance framework would mean sustainability, would mean stability, and of course, the safety of their deposits with us. So in the cooperative movement right now, it has been in the talks of having a cooperative protection scheme. It has not yet been legalized. So it's now the initiative of NATCO of having a self-regulation. Currently, we have 859 cooperative members of NATCO, but only 88 of them were voluntarily joined the Stabilization Fund system. So for us to go back, what's the difference between a co-op protection scheme from that of a deposit insurance scheme? For the Philippine banking sector, the protection scheme is called the Deposit Protection Scheme. Bangko Sentral is the one regulating them, and the counterpart of the fund is the PDIC. Right now, we do not have that same framework in the cooperative sector that we have, but what we wanted to do is to have the same setup. That's why we are now in a campaign that for the Philippine cooperative movement, we wanted to escalate ourselves in the safety or the risk management level of unifying our risk management, is to come up with our very own protection scheme. It will still have the value of supervision to the risk-based evaluation in order for us to address the systemic risk management and the fund counterpart, which is to protect the co-ops from insolvency and capital inadequacy. So looking at these two frameworks, on the next slide, you will see the difference. Again, our Philippine banking system is on deposit protection scheme, but for the Philippine cooperative movement, we wanted to have an institutional protection scheme. In a further discussion, although this was discussed already by Mark, deposit protection scheme will only protect the depositors. For banks, they are not members, they are just mere clients. So the bank will cease to exist, but PDIC will have to pay a certain level of amount to reimburse them with their deposits. And it will also, but for as institutional protection, it will protect the primary cooperative itself against insolvency or capital inadequacy by subsidizing the deficit. In terms of safeguard, the banks will close when they have bank run, but when you go into an institutional protection, it will safeguard the primary cooperative's viability and will still ensure its going concern. It means that the co-op will still live for as long as it chooses to manage its risk. That's why NATCO, it was now the initiative of NATCO in 2008 when it was introduced by ACU to have this stabilization fund mechanism for the members of NATCO. As mentioned by World Council of Credit Unions, deposit insurance itself is an important safeguard. However, it will not provide an overall stability of the entire movement. So you've seen the framework of Germany. They are very much on a higher level of integration. They do not want any of their savings and loan cooperatives to die, because it will really mean and systemic risk for the entire German cooperative movement. So in a nutshell, when you look at NATCO's stabilization fund system, it has a component of risk management and the fund. Right now, from 2008 until this time, we are focusing ourselves on risk management. So we have the 4 components. We have the inspection, data analytics, the internal line of defense of improving the proficiency of our audit committee and internal auditors, and the independence of our structure. So let us try to zoom in on the first component, which is the inspection. So as mentioned by Ma'am Tina a while ago, we are using a risk-based methodology. So our risk scope is divided into two. We have a quantitative parameter and a qualitative parameter. The quantitative parameter are the ones you saw a while ago, the appeal ratios. These are the key important ratios that we're looking at as a cooperative. The portfolio at risk, your protection ratios, of course, your net institutional capital, your liquidity, solvency, and the returns and costs. On the other hand, we're also rating, or we're looking at what are the risk incidences when you go about with your strategic direction, your governance, your credit operations, your cash accounting, institutional security, and your compliance to regulatory standards. And out of this, we have this rating system. We are rating what's the impact of that risk incidences and what's the likelihood of happening. So we rated it as low, moderate, and high. So that's why for Mother Rita, when we first did the risk-based evaluation with them in 2018, and that was also the peak of their challenging year, you've seen that there were a lot of high-risk incidences. But you've also seen how they took the results seriously and how they worked their way and improved their rating to moderate, or even some of the risk indicators were converted into low risk. So other than that of the risk-based evaluation, it will give you a glimpse, our primary cooperative glimpse of what are the threats that you are facing. Primarily last year, we were also trying to come up with an analysis of what's happening to the sector because of the impact of the pandemic. That's why we had our data analytics. We started doing or collecting data from our cooperatives as early as 2010. But it was only last year wherein we really increased our data collection for the interim data. So we have a global picture of what happened to co-ops during the pandemic, or even to a more granular analysis of going into regional. And then although not all co-ops are part of the stabilization fund system, but we are still doing this data analytics for them to have a glimpse of the other co-ops out of the 88. We're sending them analytics reports so they will know where they are. As you can see, all of the co-ops right now are in the holding area. Because if we really strictly apply the stabilization fund framework of Germany, I guess more than 96% of the co-ops will be in category D, wherein you have to pay 140% of the premium. The very reason why it was very difficult for us to fly the stabilization fund concept, because it was something new for the primary cooperatives. But when co-ops began to see the relevance of risk evaluation, of being monitored, of having a different, or their federation having them analyze their data, now they're able to know what are the specific priorities or actions they have to take on in order to improve their risk rating. Another component is the internal line of defense. Since we do not have a majority reach of the NATCO members in terms of risk evaluation, we only did 101 as of today, a total of 101 risk-based evaluations starting 2017 to 70 co-ops. That's why we are trying to increase or to scale up the proficiency of our internal auditors and audit committee by having our annual auditors forum. We started that one in 2016, so that on their level, they're already now the part of the line of defenses of the primary cooperatives in order for before we come in to do the evaluation, they can simply now look at their own risks level and already address it. When we talk about audit, we are always highlighting independence. Risk-based evaluation is somehow equated to an audit engagement, but in a very comprehensive scope. Our external auditors are only very limited in giving assertions to our financial statements if they are fairly presented. But when we do risk-based evaluation, it goes beyond the financial performance inspection. But you have seen a while ago the different risk scopes that we are also trying to check. And with that, since we are housed with NATCO, we made sure also that in our organizational structure, we are independent from management. Our team, the NATCO Stabilization Fund team, is only administratively reporting to our CEO, but we are functionally reporting to the Stabilization Fund Committee, composed of the ACU CEO and our CDA chairperson. Again, we wanted to be independent, in fact, in appearance, because there are instances that we can have findings in our own products and services of NATCO. So in a risk management point of view, that's the major component that what we're doing right now. 80% or 90% of what my team is doing right now is really on the risk management, educating or exposing our member cooperatives on how is it to be risk evaluated. So in the fund component, on the other hand, we are still in the transitory stage. These 88 co-ops contribute to the fund, but these are just temporary placements. So it earns a very minimum interest rate. It is managed by our NATCO's treasury unit, and it is only invested in low-risk money market instruments. But the goal really is to have it in a risk-based contribution, of also having the risk grades, just what Mark has presented a while ago, that for each risk rating of a certain cooperative, it has a certain counterpart of what will be their baseline in terms of paying their premium. So you see, on the next slide, you will see the summary. NATCO Stabilization Fund system right now is more on augmenting or scaling up or intensifying our risk management system within the network. So co-ops right now place into the fund because soon when this becomes part of the legislation, they already have that certain fund that they can put into, if should the cooperative movement decide to have a separate entity who will be handling the fund. So it's been quite a while, and it's timely that we are now laying down into the table to be discussed by cooperative leaders if we really wanted to have a cooperative protection scheme, not just for the NATCO members, but for all the cooperatives in the movement. So as shared by Ma'am Tina, thank you so much, Ma'am Tina, really for articulating well of the benefits that you got when you get involved in the system. As mentioned also by Sir Dado, there are around 26 billionaire cooperatives that are part of the stabilization fund system. And it's really part of the risk management of the network, because we know that if one billionaire cooperative fails, a lot of us will get affected because of the image and because of the reputation. So I would like to take this time to thank DGRV, who has been our partner for more than 10 years in coming up with the Stabilization Fund framework, and ACU, of course, for introducing this to NATCO, to Desjardins of Canada and to NACO Folk of South Korea for also sharing their expertise and knowledge and their practices. So now NATCO Stabilization Fund system is a mixture of different practices across the globe. I also would like to thank the 88 cooperatives who led the self-regulation initiatives of NATCO, who are present right now. Thank you so much for always being open to the risk evaluation. Even if during exit conference, you will see that you have more higher risks than moderate or low risk, but you were very open to it, especially on your road to managing those risks and responding those risks. I also would like to thank the different NATCO groups who's been very helpful in assisting the primary cooperatives address the risk. You've heard Ma'am Tina that she sought the help of our consultancy group in order for them to shape up with their operations. That's why most of their high-risk indicators were now into moderate and some of them in the low level. Thank you also to our CEO and to the members of the Stabilization Fund Committee. And of course, to my 8 team members who have worked really hard all these years in order to escalate NATCO Stabilization Fund system to this level right now. So this has been Sharon Maridi, the NATCO's unit head for Stabilization Fund system, saying good morning.
Yeah, thank you very much for that presentation, Sharon Maridi of the NATO Stabilization Fund. A very interesting presentation. So let me review, no? So it's about yung risk evaluation nyo is both objective and subjective.
It's both in qualitative and quantitative. Yeah, in some way or another, we can say it's objective and subjective as well. That's why we have risk evaluation tool. And DGRV has been helping us come up with that tool. And also, we were very privileged that we were sent to Germany really to have the audit training.
Wow. So it's not just about protecting the deposits of depositors. Of course, that's very important. It's also about protecting the institution, the cooperative itself. So yun po, no? Narinig po natin mga kaibigan. So we will now receive questions. So we have a question here from Ms. Sally Cabangis, former chairperson of NATCO Network. Attorney Sally, please give us your question. I think Ms. Sally is still on mute. Ray, can you please unmute Attorney Sally? Oh, there you go.
Good morning, Sir Dado. Good morning,
Hi.
everyone.
Morning.
Good morning to the entire co-op family in the Philippines. Thank you to Sir Zach, Ma'am Tina of Mother Rita MPC, and also Ms. Sharon for the very enlightening talks and sharings. Ma'am Tina of Mother Rita MPC mentioned that the cooperative went through an ICU stage or getting really very sick, because when you say ICU, almost dead, and yet was revived thanks to the intervention of NATCO. Is Mom Tina saying that a great percentage of cooperatives in the country right now who are almost dead can still be revived? How possible is that? And with respect to Ms. Sharon's sharing about the Stabilization Fund, I am now with the Cooperative Law and Regulation Initiative, which is a global organization studying the need to adopt the cooperative principles, one of which is the democratic member control. Ms. Sharon mentioned about independence, and I would like to ask if by independence, we're saying that while there is the CDA as regulator, as espoused by Clarity, the state, the government, and the regulator, in our case CDA, must not actually control completely how the cooperatives run their operations, their businesses, how they distribute their capital accounts, and the like. So is Ms. Sharon affirming the clarity principle that if it could be helped, the regulator is merely there to guide and to oversee, but that federations, cooperatives must be given absolute, but I do not agree with absolute, must be given a lot of freedoms in managing their financial affairs, controlling how their businesses are run and operated. Salamat po sa ating lahat. Stay safe and God bless.
Thank you, Attorney Sally. Any comments from our speakers on that? Mukhang ano, no? What I can see, no? We're going to have a lot of meetings in Congress and with the CDA in the coming months about this stabilization fund.
Sir Dado, I would like to answer Attorney Sally. Attorney Sally, it was nice seeing you again. Yes, with regards to the independence that I was presenting, it refers to the independence of NATCO Stabilization Fund from NATCO Federation. But in terms of the framework of regulation, CDA will always should be the regulatory body for all cooperatives. Federations are there to help and guide these cooperatives in adhering to the prudential standards. So on our part, for NATCO Stabilization Fund System, we are complementary in the works of the supervision division of CDA. So we are doing our initiative in order to identify this risk. But hopefully, when CDA will roll out their deputation of federations, because it's part also of RA 9520 that CDA will deputize federations to be the supervisors or overseers of the respective primary cooperatives. In one way or another, we can qualify to that level. So just like for the German framework, their audit federation has a link to the government. They're always working closely to the government because government is always requiring their cooperatives to be part of the federation, to be subjected to the annual audit of DGRV, which is the audit federation. So somehow, CDA is still the regulatory body, and now the federation will have the responsibility of making sure that all these cooperatives that they are handling right now are adhering to the prudential standards. I hope I've answered your question, Attorney Sally.
Okay, thank you for that reply. We have a question here, all right, from Mr. Jomar. It is addressed to Mr. Zak. What kind of near-death situations, just a moment, no? Nawala lang sandali. What kind of near-death situations po ang na-experience ng inyong co-op? What are the symptoms? I think this is for Morimsi.
Okay, this is, I mean, it's difficult to answer this in a very general way because these cases are, of course, highly individual. I mean, as I mentioned, we have this automatic process, which optical, it's probably similar to the risk rating you saw before, that there are certain risk indicators and certain thresholds in relation to asset quality, in relation to profitability that can be monitored. Yeah, for example, if loans are being repaid late, if loans are being given to entities without a proper collateral and so on. These are aspects which go into this risk rating, and then for each cooperative, it depends very much on the situation of what kind of troubles the cooperative faces. So as these near-death experiences are, as I mentioned, are very, very individual. It's usually linked, of course, to a lack of solvency, a lack of profitability, and in some cases, liquidity crunches can be also the source of problems these cooperatives face. And the risk indicators they are there to measure this and to be monitored. So. As I'm not a representative of a certain cooperative, so I will not be able to say that my cooperative faces this and this death scenario, but I would say that these indicators in general, how you saw them, they will point out to the situation that the cooperative is taking a certain term. If the alarm bells ring, and for example, if the asset quality deteriorates, then you can read this in these indicators, and it could be many causes. It could be external causes. Yeah, if the economic slumps, of course, it could happen that loans are not being repaid and that the asset quality of the cooperative sinks. Yeah, but it could also be because of prudential standards are not adhered to. Yeah, that there is fraud, or that there is not that there is too much risk, that the funds are being invested in more risky assets, or the loans are being provided to more risky projects. These can all be causes of problems which can lead the cooperative into the situation where it struggles with solvency, or where it struggles with liquidity to fund their short-term obligations. So yeah, it's sorry for this long answer and sorry for this very vague answer, but it's very difficult for me to say exactly this is now the this is a case where there's a near death scenario, because as I mentioned, every cooperative faces different situations, and it depends very much on the internal governance of the cooperative and also external factors like the economy that the cooperative is being is existing in.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Zach. We have a question from Mother Rita manager Christina Udan.
Hello again. Yes, Sir Dado.
Hi,
So,
Christina.
with the issue on raised by the one airing a question on the near-death situation of co-ops, well, actually, in our case here, Sir Dado, in 2018, noong first RBE namin, our par rate was 49% of the total loan portfolio, and that was amounting to 104 million. So to round it up, 50% of our portfolio are at risk. And we only have provisions of around 13%, 1/3, for the more than 1 year past due in the aging report. 13%. And our institutional capital then was negative 18, Mama Sharon. So we consider it, being conservative, we consider it as near to death situation in our cooperative, because we have a very conservative board, although the management is a high risk taker, no? Ibig sabihin nito, ang isang branch namin, which is around 35% of the total assets, is in deep financial difficulty in 2018. Yeah, so this was the reason why we were serious in addressing the findings of the first RBE. And in 2018, because we were fixing the problems in the branch, and we are still thinking of what was best to do then. So in 2019, we placed our credit operations under the NATCO consultancy. So that was the final decision made in 2019, because in 2019 still we have that fear na baka lumaki pa yung delinquency namin. Parang talagang stage 4 na ang tingin namin doon, sir. Yes, so consider talaga na i-ICU namin to, although the cost to be placed in ICU is quite high, but we prefer, no? Pagka sinabi na mapupunta sa ICU ang isang may sakit, mataas ang presyo yon. Pero because we really want to address the delinquency problem, the exponential increase in our PAR, that was the statement in 2018 of the Stab Fund, exponential increase. So the board were so takot sila talaga diyan. So talaga kailangan naming maupo, pag-usapan mabuti ito, and very good. Ngayong taon ito lumabas yung final output ng intervention, and we have to have that new credit structure, we have to adopt new credit risk management policy, system and procedure, and then we are now ready to face the next year with the new system and new processes and the new structure that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment, Ms. Tina. Meron tayong tanong dito from Raymond de la Cruz. How about the finance cluster? We have regional finance cluster organizations. Since the issue is under the finance cluster, I think this must be coordinated for the RCO in gathering opinions from all co-ops under the finance cluster. Yes, Mr. De La Cruz, that is exactly what we are doing. We have a question from Ms. Lucy Puro. The state should set the regulations. Should the supervisor be the federation? Once validated, that co-op needs institutional protection. then the stabilization fund system will take care of it. Is that the intention? Yun po bang intention dito? Is there anyone who can... I think Madam Silvia Paraguya said we are aiming for deputization by CDA. As mentioned, we have to work on improving the operations of the co-op, and we still cannot afford to go to the fund. The objective is not to use the fund. The objective natin is to improve the ratios of the cooperatives. Okay. So Lucy Furo also has a question. Our co-op was one of the most stable co-op in terms of capital adequacy and liquidity ratio. However, solvency ratio is less than the standards, but eventually dissolved due to some risks in loan portfolio. Will the stabilization fund system answer this case? Can anybody give a reply? Yeah, Dr. Min of DGRB said, indeed, it is a practice in Germany, Ms. Puro. We have recognized while accompanying NATCO, it is very difficult for NATCO to persuade new members of the STAB fund. I think that not all co-op leaders like Mother Rita could recognize the importance of determining risk. Okay, so may mga reply po dyan nasa ating chat box at the moment. There's a question here. I think this is for Sharon. Can the NATCO present the financial condition of the stabilization fund they are managing?
For the stabilization fund itself, the placement of this 88 cooperatives, we are not the one managing it. It's NATCO's treasury unit. So right now we have around 42 million in the fund. And again, it's still more of a placement rather than the premium-based fund. So each of these cooperatives, it's like they are putting, because our reserve fund, it is being mandated that we should have a deposit counterpart. So some of these cooperatives, as they will put in their counterpart of the reserve fund to the stub fund rather than depositing it to the banks. So they are now contributing to the sector. At the same time, they are preparing themselves when we go into the premium-based feature later on. And just perhaps an answer to Moms Lucy's question, should we decide that this gets implemented across the cooperative movement in the Philippines? I guess the first thing that we need to do is to come up really with a certain framework as to, just like for Germany, that they have the preventive one, and then we need to rehab certain cooperatives when we know that their solvency and their net institutional capital level is in a certain point. Because that's the time when the managers of the fund will decide if they will have to put in additional capitalization should that happen to a certain co-op. Granting that each one of the cooperatives will be subjected to inspection and risk evaluation, and then they will open themselves to change their old mechanisms. Because it's unfair that they will be part of the beneficiaries of the fund, but if they're not doing something, just like for Mother Rita, if they did not do anything, the ratios could get worse. It was their decision. It was their difficult decision really to address this risk. So being able to have access to the fund, we need to do our responsibility as primary cooperatives. Again, the very basic one is to adhere to prudential standards, starting off with portfolio at risk. We've seen a lot of co-ops submitting us data of a very low portfolio at risk. But we know, based on our expertise, we know that that was window dressed. Because if you look at their profitability, it will not coincide. So right now, we have a talent of determining if a co-op is window dressing their FS or if they're really being transparent and they're very true to their core values of transparency and integrity. So I guess that's our starting point right now. It's really a call for all cooperatives before we go to our goal really of having a stabilization fund, just like for Germany and Desjardins, is we start off deciding, really starting off of having a very good governance structure and following to the basic prudential standards.
Okay, thank you for that. There's a question. Well, siguro let's mention this now. This is for Mr. Zach and or Sharon. How do the recommendations of the audit findings from the stabilization fund, how can they be enforced? Since there is no regulatory power on the federation.
In the Philippines, we do not really have any teeth of telling cooperatives you have to address these findings. It's now really the decision, just like Marimsi, it was their decision to address this risk. Because again, we are not part of the regulatory body. It's more of initiative of these cooperatives to how to make themselves better. But it would have been nice. It would have been very efficient. It's part of a regulation or licensing that you cannot have your certificate of compliance if you cannot address your risk. But right now, it's really more on self-accountability. It's more on self-regulating yourself to follow to standards. For the German setup, I guess Mark could also explain further because it is mandated by their law. It's mandated by their law, and they have certain partnerships with their regulatory body or the central bank counterpart for the German cooperatives and banks. It's really, they have no choice, but they have to follow. But they started having self-regulation in what was that year, Mark? That was 87 years ago. Yes. But they started having a self-regulation without the intervention of the government. It was just in the coming years that they were part really of the regulation system of the German financial structure.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, so it started as a voluntary system, and I mentioned before that the whole protection fund is integrated into the deposit insurance system. It's we call it the dual system. It's the institution protection part is a voluntary system implemented by the cooperative sector. But in Germany, so the BVR has, as I mentioned, each cooperative needs to be member of a federation because the federation provides the audit. And they are part of the stabilization fund, and the stabilization fund has statutes which define procedures which define procedures for the stabilization fund, but also for the cooperative members. So if certain thresholds are reached in terms of risk, the board of directors in the stabilization fund, they can decide, the directors in the stabilization fund, they can decide to conduct action, and then the cooperative needs to follow, because at the end, it's of course a problem of the individual cooperative if they have a solvency problem, for example, but it's also a problem for the whole network of cooperatives, because if there's a big failure in the cooperative system, people will raise questions of, okay, then what is the safety of the credit cooperatives in Germany? Therefore, yes, it is. We have statutes in the institutional protection fund, and if a decision is made that an intervention is necessary to make a turnaround for this specific cooperative in order to safeguard the members, but also the whole system of cooperatives, it's mandatory for these cooperatives to follow these guidelines. And yeah, that's one part of the whole system.
Sir Dado, you're on mute.
I think our speakers are only saying that we should follow the doctor's advice. It's that simple. If you don't follow your doctor's advice, then bear the consequences. I guess it's that simple, really. So we have a question from Miss Jasila of PATCOMC. Miss Jasila, Ray, please unmute PATCOMC. Jasila, please. Tapos while we're waiting, okay, Miss Jasila.
Good Good morning po. Magko-comment lang po ako, sir, kasi regarding dun sa presentation, but based sa presentation po natin today, kasi po parang inaano po natin yung copy-paste yung practices ng Europe dito sa Philippines. Parang, di ba, parang isipin lang po natin dito sa Philippines. Magkaiba po yung organization ng Europe tsaka yung dito sa Philippines. Like, halimbawa po sa organization po namin. Kasi di ba sa Europe, isang organization lang po ang nag-i-exist. Dito sa Pilipinas, sa organization po namin, sa place po namin, bali 3 co-op na po ang na-approve ng CTA. So paano po natin i-copy-paste yung practice ng Europe dito sa Philippines?
Ms. Sharon?
Yeah. It's not really copy pasting. That's why we were also asking what's the Desjardins framework and that of NACOFOC, because we wanted to ensure as well that what we are trying to implement right now, we are implementing in the NATCO networks members are really attuned to what's the emerging risks of our co-op. So basically the framework that we were presenting a while ago, the risk management and the fund. If you will see, more or less, it was patterned by the German federations and all other federations across the country, but it's not something new. You see, it's very important that all of us are also managing our risks. But with regards to what Ma'am Jacila mentioned on in their area having 3 cooperatives, I guess that's now the role of CDA in terms of regulatory framework, of making sure that there is no competition among cooperatives within the area. And I think they have already done several memorandum circulars to that effect. What the difference only in the Philippines and the other federations or other credit unions in the country, it's because they are highly regulated. So the regulation would say that you cannot form a cooperative if you are not a member of the federation. And these federations have their internal policy as well, that you cannot compete with each other. That's why they have an integrated network. Germany, Desjardins, NACOFOC, they are highly integrated. When you're in a highly integrated network, supervision and monitoring is one factor. Another factor is making sure that we do not compete with each other, but we have a common goal and a common objective, really, of serving the community, of increasing public trust and confidence.
Okay. There's a question from Mr. Omer Remo. Can a co-op have a resolution stopping the withdrawal for the period of 3 years of members' share capital because it's under rehabilitation? How can the Stabilization Fund help in this scenario?
As mentioned, we are not yet in that level, but perhaps we can gather all these comments should we decide that this will really get a full-blown implementation when we come up with the Philippine Cooperative Protection Scheme. But right now, as mentioned, with NATCO's initiative, we are all in the holding area of making sure that all these cooperatives are addressing the risks, so that in time when this gets deployed to all cooperatives, NATCO members are now prepared themselves. They're quite used to being evaluated, and they have a structured mechanism of implementing their own respective risk management policies.
Thank you for that. Another question from Ms. Nancy Amores, Norquist Credit Cooperative, Region 7. Is the Stabilization Fund dues paid by a primary co-op on a monthly basis or a yearly basis? And if a primary co-op doesn't have claim for a period of time, what happens to the fund? Does it accumulate? Sharon?
Again, for NATCO, as mentioned, it's still in the transitory phase. So it's like a time deposit. Co-ops just decide the amount of fund that they can put into the Stabilization Fund. But putting into the fund would also mean that they are subjecting themselves to the risk evaluation. I guess I saw somebody questioning of how much is the fee. When you are part of the Stabilization Fund system, you do not have to pay for any inspection fee as of now, because this is part of NATCO's return service to the CETF remittances that you have. So these 88 cooperatives are enjoying the benefit of being comprehensively evaluated of the risks level. So that's how it works right now. And in terms with the fund, it is just there. It's just their deposit, preparing themselves when this becomes a premium-based contribution.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So, marami po dito sa ating chat box. They're encouraging everyone to please vote and campaign for Co-op NATCO party list. It's very important that we have representation in Congress. If we do not have representation, then we cannot really enforce what we want to do. All right. So here we have another question from. Is it from PFCCO, PECO? Is it possible for us to adopt the German framework for financial cooperatives? Sharon, is it possible for us to adopt?
I guess not really 100%, but we can learn something from them. At the same time, for our neighboring country like the South Korea, again, it's more on cooperative leaders gathering and making the decision. At the same time, when we make the decision, it's now about time to form a group in order to study the different frameworks across the countries and what's more beneficial for the primary cooperatives in the Philippines. I think that's part actually of my assignment given to me by our CEO, Ibing, to have a comparative matrix of the stabilization fund system across the country. Because once we are in the starting discussion of escalating this initiative of NATCO to the national level, we have something to share to the technical working group of what's the kind of framework that we're going to adopt for the Philippine sector.
May I add again, from the experience I have in working with these different countries, I think it's never a good idea to take over a system from another country or from another environment, because systems develop within their environment. And as I mentioned a few times before, since 1935, the Institution Protection Fund has been developed and all the processes. It did not start like it is now. And so for the Philippines, the stakeholders in the Philippines need to find their own way which suits to the environment of the Philippines. But of course, experiences from other countries can be used to analyze general principles and see how these general principles can be applied in detail in this specific environment. And therefore, I also agree this kind of exchange is very valuable because everybody can always benefit from others' experiences.
Okay, another question. Does a co-op need to be a NATCO member to join the Stabilization Fund? Or I think we're going to determine that when we have discussions in Congress.
But right
sure
now, Sir Dado, but right now, should they really want to be part already of the Stabilization Fund system without waiting it to become national? Yes, they can be a member of the Stabilization Fund system once they become a member of NATCO.
From Mimi Valeriano, is the risk evaluation on a yearly basis or upon the request of the primaries?
Ideally, it's on a yearly basis or the annual basis. But because of the pandemic last year, we lost 7 months of doing the risk evaluation. That's why we transitioned ourselves of doing the virtual risk evaluation. So for the second round of the risk evaluation of Mother Rita, we did that virtually. For St. Martin of Tours, because we usually communicate with the co-ops, proposing a schedule for risk-based evaluations. Ideally, we do it annually. But there are certain cases if we cannot do it annually. But what we are doing is we also are sending semi-annual follow-up reports to these co-ops just to ensure that they are able to remember what were the risk items that they need to address.
Okay, another question from PFCCO Central Luzon. Just clarifying, is the NATCO Stabilization Fund a form of investment?
Right now, yes. is a placement. It's not really an investment. It's more of a placement, temporary placement, and it earns a very minimal interest rate because it's only invested by our treasury group to government securities, and it's not being mixed with the other funds of NATCO.
Yeah, that's
It's separate. It's a separate fund. Yeah.
From Mr. Hernan Palabiab of PFCCO, voluntary or compulsory? What is ideal?
Right now, it's voluntary. Yeah. Right now, it's voluntary, but ideally, it should be compulsory.
Kasi talagang we are responsible for the deposits of our depositors. Okay, so I guess those are just about the questions we have. If we have our very interesting, no, daming mga issues, pero you can be assured, ladies and gentlemen, that there will be a technical working group that will work on this. There will be consultations done all the time, and you will be posted about the developments on this matter. Obviously, this is a very important matter that we are taking now, the stability of cooperatives. And your federations, your regulators, and your legislators are all going to work together. We will all work hard to see to it that cooperatives all over the Philippines will experience stability. Okay? So there are so much thanks to our speakers this day for informing our participants about the Stabilization Fund system. And now it is time for us to recognize our speakers. Okay, so we will present to them our certificate of appreciation. This will take just a moment. So we have 3 speakers for today. So our first speaker was Mr. Mark Andre Zak from BGRB. He's the project director. In recognition for his meritorious service and participation as a resource speaker during the legislative support for the Cooperative Stabilization Fund, held this 12th day of October 2021 via Zoom. So we are going to email this to you, Mr. Zak. This is a small token. We will email to you the signed copies, e-copies of this certificate. So Mr. Zak.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that.
Okay. And also to Ms. Ernestina Udan, the manager of Mother Rita Multipurpose Cooperative in Zambales, in recognition of your meritorious service and participation as a resource speaker during the legislative support for the Cooperative Stabilization Fund. Ms. Udan, thank you very much for your service to the cooperative. Thank you so much. We will email this certificate to you. And lastly, to our speaker from NATCO Network Stabilization Fund, Ms. Sharon Marie B., the unit head of the Stabilization Fund, in recognition of your service and participation as a resource speaker during the legislative support for the Cooperative Stabilization Fund, this 12th day of October 2021 via Zoom. We appreciate everything you have shared with us today, Ms. D. Okay, so yan na po. We have presented all our certificates of our appreciation to our speakers. Again, virtual applause to our speakers today. Thank you so much for your sharing. Okay, next in our program, Ray, do we have videos from for the call to action? Okay, so we will, apparently we do not have the videos, but to give us the resolutions, okay? So after all our discussions here, a resolution has been created, what action we will take, because many of our participants have been asking, what is next? Okay, so what is next is in a resolution that has been drafted by no other than the CEO of the NATCO network, and she will be presenting it to us this morning. we're already approaching the concluding portion of our forum for today.
Dado,
Yes,
Can-
Ms. Paraguya.
may I be allowed to share?
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Engineer
I'm
Paraguya.
still not able. Good morning sa ating lahat. Guten Tag, Prost. Oktoberfest, so it's Prost. Magandang umaga, Maya Damasulom. It has been a very nice discussion this morning. And I think this is a major milestone in the history of the Stabilization Fund. This is the first time that we're having a very nice dialogue on how we can make the cooperatives more stable. So I'd like to share the call to action, but let me clarify that some of the suggestion here may have to go through further discussion with the group. Can you now see my screen? Okay. So,
Yes, ma'am, we can see it.
so thank you very much to our partners from DGRV. Nakita nyo naman ang kanilang structure. They are the apex of the cooperatives in Germany. Thank you, Sharon, for the presentation. Thank you, Ma'am Tina, for inspiring us, inspiring the cooperatives. And for being very transparent, showing the red ones, how the red has turned yellow or white. No? And thank you for you UCMP for organizing this activity. We thank CDA. Nandyan kanina si Chair in Cabo, and of course the finance cluster point person from CDA, ASEC Vidal, who's very active. And the participants for the many questions, clarifications that you have raised. So first, ang ating resolution, we start with whereas that the ICA blueprint aspires that the cooperative form of business become the acknowledged leader in economic, social, and environmental sustainability, to become the model preferred by the people and the fastest growing form of enterprise. And for the Philippine Co-op Month celebration, our theme is Kooperatibang Matatag. It is a recognition that co-ops need to be strong, robust, and resilient in order to face challenges, resurrect the economy, and provide hope for the Filipino people. Whereas the Philippine cooperatives are entrusted with the members' hard-earned and precious deposits, and it is a great responsibility upon the shoulders of co-op leaders to ensure that members' deposits remain safe and the co-op brand maintains its members' trust. Whereas the German cooperatives under the Institutional Protection Framework for Financial Cooperatives of the German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation have managed all risk, achieved solid financial position, and attained impressive long-term financial performance. Dinagdag ko dito, whereas NATCO, with inspiration and guidance from the Asian Confederation of Credit Unions and with partners from all over the world since 2008, the system has evolved over the past 13 years. Whereas the experience of the co-ops, one example shown by Morimsi, shows that it can be done to reduce from high risk to moderate risk. Whereas RA 9520 provides for the deputization of cooperatives with MC 2011 to 23, and quoting what ASEC Vidal has mentioned, the CDA recognizes the importance of the stabilization fund system to be in place before the deposit insurance for cooperatives. And I'd like to go back to the takeaways of the DGRV presentation to note that it is essential that the protected institutions are operating in a prudentially sound way. And I take note of some of the elements. Every co-op should be a member of a federation. This is an ongoing discussion in the Philippines because we know that not all cooperatives are members of a federation or union. We saw the common logo shared by the members, but each of the co-op have their own decision-making powers. They're supervised by the German Central Bank. The co-op banks are rooted in the region and very strong connection to their local members. The system is more preventive that the funds will not be used in the end. And the strength of the fund and the whole system was shown that in 2008 global crisis, the German cooperatives did not receive public funding. So here we see the risk classification and the rating and the fees which goes with it. And we also see here the process where there is a classification, there is a prevention and management, and there's support mechanism for those on rehabilitation. So some of the things we'd like to do, first, I think we should ensure that co-ops are operating prudentially in a sound way. Yung kaninang mga tanong, ano bang indicator near death? So baka kailangan natin that the cooperative sector and CDA come up with the way to classify the cooperatives. Common classification, especially for those with savings and credit operations, and there would be indicators to know if you are near death situation. And this would also take into account the asset sizes of cooperatives. So later on, I'll show you ano ang ating nakikita. But offhand, itong near death, if your general reserve fund is around less than even 5% and you are still unprovided, then you have a negative institutional capital. As mentioned by Madarita, that can be an indicator that you're actually near death. So kung meron tayong classification, we will know sino ang kailangan i-rehab, sino ang A+ na, sino ang kailangang ayusin pa. It is now the role of the federations and unions to capacitate the member cooperatives to adhere to the standards. And we should have common training of the audit committee and the internal auditors. Third, ang ating annual reports to CDA to include the real picture of the co-op, especially the portfolio at risk and our provisioning, so that we're able to calculate the institutional capital. We all know that the standard for institutional capital is 10%. So malayo pa tayo dyan. Co-ops to submit their data to their federations unions at least twice a year, complete with the PAR and provisioning. Baka kailangan natin ng award for the co-ops which have reached the 10% institutional capital. Then, this is a proposal. Can the sector have a project 10-10-10 na sana makaabot tayo ng 10% institutional capital in 10 years or 10% GRF in 10 years? Right now, ang nakikita natin na institutional capital is less than 5% and could be even negative. But when you go to this project, I think very clearly kailangan natin ng delinquency reduction, kailangan natin ng compliance to provisioning, kailangan nating ayusin ang ating allocation to GRF. So, ang first part sa ating call is that the cooperatives will really work towards adoption of the standards. And the federations and unions will capacitate the cooperatives. Pangalawa is, how do we work on the deputization of federations? Because this is available in RA 9520 and there's an MC 2011-23. And even if we deputize federation, we need to standardize the procedures so that this is uniformly implemented across the federations. On the law, kasi parang kung ako titingin, mukhang maaga para gumawaan ng law. Because we still have to work hard in improving the picture of the cooperatives. But still, the federations and unions can work together and with other national confederations to formulate a stabilization fund system. Dito ko nilagay na, are we looking at one stabilization fund system for the whole sector? At dinagdag ko dito that we should also discuss this with the finance cluster. Then for federations to work with CDA and legislators in creating a workable stabilization fund system act. Some items for the proposed stabilization fund law, mandatory membership to the stabilization fund. Ano ba ang ating contribution to the fund? It should be a premium, not a deposit. Ang Vietnam experience is 0.8% of the total asset. The principle that if you have higher risk, higher fees. Itong last two ko, I'm not so sure, but pwede ba, can we ask the government to to match the funds pulled by the cooperative sector? And is it possible that at least we can have government support for operations during the first year? So these are just some of the thoughts which we have in terms of the next action that we need to do related to the stabilization fund system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We all heard the resolutions for today from Engineer Sylvia Paraguya of the NATCO network. She's the NATCO CEO. Thank you very much, Mami Bing. Okay, so yun po ang gagawin natin. Ano? Those will be the directions that the co-op sector will take in the next few years. This is a massive undertaking that we are going to do, but if we work together, we cooperate, we can do it. All right, so we're about to close our forum for today. So is there a motion to approve the resolution? Meron po bang motion to approve? Pati pa sana magse-second man lang from our participants.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Edwin Bustillas from the Philippine Cooperative Center.
Okay. So there's been that motion. Paki-second na lang po.
No.
Okay.
Okay, seconded and approved. Shall we request Ma'am Lucy Furo to declare that the resolution is approved? After all, you are the chairperson of the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines. Miss Lucy, is she still around? Baka nakamute. Marami na po nagse-second ngayon, nasa chat box. Madam Lucy, may we request for you to declare? Okay. Anyway, I think it has been seconded, so we will now proceed with our program. Okay, thank you again very much, Engineer Paraguya, for the resolutions that we will take. Ayan po, Bangko Op also seconded the motion. Okay, so I guess there is a quorum for that. So now we will now proceed with the closing remarks. Kayon po we know very well that elections is only a few months from now, and we have fielded 3 nominees for the Co-op NATCO party list for 3 seats in Congress. That is our aim. So joining us today to give the closing remarks will be the first nominee of Co-op NATCO party list. He is the CEO or the General Manager of Barbasa Multipurpose Cooperative in Barbasa, Antique Province. And he's been chosen to represent our Co-op NATCO party list in Congress in 2022, assuming, of course, that we will get at least 1 seat. By the way, we have 3 seats from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So, ladies and gentlemen, here to give the closing remarks will be Mr. Emon Espares of Barbasa MPC. Mr. Espares?
Yes, thank you very much, Sir Dado.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, kahit hindi magandang panahon ngayon, maulan dito sa Iloilo, and I know in Northern Luzon, no? So malakas talaga si Maring. But then anyway, this is greetings again. Magandang umaga, mayad nga aga ka natin tanan. So the closing remarks is always the most awaited part of every program because as this time, this is closest to our lands. But I know busog na busog tayo ngayon with the inputs and sharing we got from our resource persons who are all experts in the stabilization fund system. So I extend my warmest thanks and congratulations to all the speakers, of course, from Germany, Mark Sack, the GFGRB Project Director of Philippines and Myanmar. And of course, our own Sharon D of the NATCO Stab Fund. So magaling talaga yan si Ma'am Shia. And the one who shared the the best practices, very enlightening and inspiring from Ma'am Tina Udan, the GM of the Maderita NPC. And I know kaninang umaga, Ma'am Lucy Puro, the ad hoc chairperson of UNCP, Yusik Joy Incabo, our CDE chair, and Yusik Vidal Villanueva, the CDE board. And of course, Ma'am Ibing, thank you very much for the effort. No? So indeed, our goal in the finance cluster is really to ensure that we have safe, sound, and steady co-ops in the country. So this is where the stub fund is of great significance. So rest assured that Co-op NATCO party list and personally, I will always support and advocate for our stub fund system. And even my primary Barbasa Multipurpose Cooperative belong to the first 25 affiliates of NATCO who joins in these initiatives, and we know, and now we are benefiting the risk-based examination in terms of our financial and risk status, no, the same as what Maderita NPC shared with us. So really, thank you very much, NATCO, for initiating this to our network, and I know this is the might be the start of the model in the country, whatever will be done, no, in this development. So I wish, of course, to commend also the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines for this initiative, especially our NATCO, the prime mover of this morning activity, and the implementers of the stub fund system in the country. So personally, I wish to thank Co-op NATCO party list, Representative Kong Ben Kanama, one of the brainchild of the UCMP, along with the PCC and other national federation, unions, NCDC, LCDOC, and co-op stakeholders. So this sector unifying initiatives have made great successes in convening co-op leaders to discuss issues and concerns of the sector. Fortunately, some of these already responded and acted upon. But for this stub fund system, I go with Ma'am Ibing, no, and the rest of the stub fund advocates in this call to action. So as the number one nominee of the Co-op NATCO party list, if given chance for this 19th Congress, I would be one of this would be one of our priority legislative agenda to work in the halls of Congress. Kaya kailangan din talaga natin suportahan ang CNTL to ensure there must be somebody really to work in the House of Representatives. So let's continue this common effort. For it facilitates learning and growth, provide opportunities to cooperatives, and eventually unify the sector. So mabuhay ang co-op sector ng kooperatiba. Happy Cooperative Month. Stay safe, and God bless us all. Sedado?
Yes, thank you for that. Mabuhay po ang Co-op NATCO party list. So sana po ay suportahan natin, iboto at ikampanya ang Co-op NATCO party list. There we just heard our first nominee, Sir Emon Espares of Barbasa MPC. Thank you very much, sir. So that about concludes our forum for today on legislative support for the Stabilization Fund. We really hope that you enjoyed and learned a lot today, and that we will. This is indeed a very exciting time for us. Talagang we are working to make our cooperative stable para magkaroon tayo ng matatag na mga kooperatiba na naayon sa ating tema sa Cooperative Month na ito. So marami pong salamat sa lahat ng nag-attend ngayon. We still have 381 participants. So on behalf of the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines, the NATCO Network, the Philippine Cooperative Center, we still have here our PCC General Manager, Sir Edwin Bustillos. Yan po, kinakaway po tayo. Thank you very much also for the technical group of the PCC. We could not have done this without the team of Ray. Si Ray talagang super galing. He rose up beyond what you can do. Sir Edwin, your team is really impressive. Yeah, we are impressed with that. We made this happen. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
To our three speakers, Ms. Udan, Ms. D, and Mr. Mark, Zach. Thank you for all the information that you have provided us. And we are now going to make a difference in the co-op sector in the Philippines. Thank you to all of you. And also to our participants, to our regulators who are still here. We thank you for your support. To our participants, all the 400 who have attended, we will keep you posted about what's going to happen in the next few months and years. So for now, please support the Co-op NATCO party list. And this is Just Dado Luna. I'm here as your host today. So we're about to sign off. Thank you so much for attending the forum of the financial cluster.
Picture taking.
Oh yeah, picture taking po tayo. So
Okay.
we request everybody to please turn on your cameras. Before we leave, kailangan po natin dito at least documentation. Okay, may we request everyone to please turn on your camera for the picture taking.
Congratulations po sa NATCO. Kanina po almost 480 tayo at the height of the discussion.
Okay, for the picture taking, we have 15 slides, so so many attendees. I will, okay, first slide, smile. Okay, next slide. Okay, then third. Okay, and fourth.
16 pa yan.
Okay, that's the fifth one. For the sixth one, then, okay, so many participants. Really, really great event. 8. For the ninth one, 10th, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye. 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 Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am Bibing, nasaan ka ngayon?
Bukidnon. Bukidnon.
Ay, okay. Yeah. So wala bagyo dyan.
Walang bagyo. Walang bagyo dito.
So dito sa Visayas at saka Northern Luzon, malakas talaga yan. Sige, ingat-ingat. Kita-kits next time.
Keep safe. Salamat. Salamat. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Have a good cooperative month.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy
Auf
cooperative month.
Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.
Okay. Auf Wiedersehen, Mark.
Auf Wiedersehen. See you maybe in Malida hopefully soon.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Mr. Zach. Cheska, thank you so much. Ray, thank you. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Cheska. Great work. Sir Edwin, thank you, Ren.
Good work, Sir Dado. G.
Sa ating lahat.
Yes.
Sunod naman, transport.
Okay yung resolution, sir. It's a very good resolution draft.